Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome to the Enough Said podcast. We are doing the free agency showdown tonight, talking about all the latest free agency news in the NFL. And I know what Mike wants to talk about, the NFL going on streaming services. We'll get to that a little bit too.
Oh my God.
Here we go. Here we go. All right. Yo,
Here we go.
What up,
Hey, what's
everybody?
up?
What up? What up?
What's
What
up?
up? Well, Jermaine should be joining us any second here, so we'll get him in when he comes on. What's up, fellas? How you feeling? It's been a while.
Hey
Yeah,
man,
it has. I know you guys
still,
are
I'm still feeling good from the Super Bowl win. If you can see my hat, I am still happy.
good times, right? You get to
Yes.
enjoy the whole summer, at least,
Now I
until
understand
the
how
season
it
starts.
feels again, Mike. When you guys won it, I don't know, back in
I don't know.
19
So long.
He's rubbing it
Yeah.
in, when you want it
Yeah,
back
I
in.
know.
Whenever
Back when
you
I was
want
in
it.
high school, right? Yeah.
Like 40 years ago, whenever you want it.
When I was 18, let me stop.
Yeah.
No, feeling good, guys.
That was-
Yeah, I mean, only what month? What is this is March, so yeah, like
a
Mhm.
little over a month.
a little over a
half,
month, and still a little bit of confetti still hanging out there, you know.
There you go. All right. Yeah, a little confetti going on. I like it. Yeah, it's been a ride. Howie's been a little bit busy among other teams, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Your boy, Dre Greenlaw, Mike, we'll get into him. He's no longer a 49er. So he wanted to go someplace else. Left so much for
Yeah. No, a lot of guys left. A lot of guys were let go. They didn't
Mhm.
really aggressively try to bring them back. You can see what I'm saying in my where my name is. It says pocket full of lint because that's where the Niners are. The
Mhm.
bills finally come due, and they're just like cutting costs left and right, man.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Well, that's one of the big things. And yeah, I'm starting to see a pattern in the NFL, and we'll talk about this, that teams are definitely getting away from the big veteran contracts for the most part. They're going to try to go with this youth movement and these younger guys, kind of like what the Eagles did last year. You look at most of the Eagles contributors, they were younger players, except for maybe Saquon, right? Also, what they're doing, if you look at all the Eagles free agent signings, and we'll talk about this too, they are all 1-year contracts, except for Bond, who re-signed really. All 1-year contracts that Howie did. Really interesting. I was looking at that tonight before the show, and I'm like, man, really? Every single one of these guys that they bought in. So not committing the long term, kind of like, hey, we'll try them out for a year, see how they do. Will it work? I don't know. They let go of a lot of talent. I mean, if we start with the Eagles, I mean, we can talk about who they let go. Here's all their departures: Fred Johnson, Oren Burks, Paris Campbell, Becton, Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, Kenny Gainwell, James Bradbury, Isaiah Rodgers, Darius Slay, and then, of course, the one that just happened not too long ago today.
Mathematics.
Yeah, so Maddox.
Mathematics, right? Yeah.
Yep. So he left. So a lot of guys. And who did they add? These are all guys on 1-year contracts. I don't even know who some of these guys are. I'll be honest. Alzi Awajari, he's a linebacker, 1 year. Kylene Granskin, tight end, 1 year. Avery Williams, kick and punt returner. Could be the end of Britton Covey for Jermaine. Look out. 1 year. Same thing. Patrick Johnson, 1 year. Charlie Hewlett, 1 year. Adoree Jackson, 1 year. Harrison Bryant, 1 year. Joshua Uch, 1 year. AJ Dillon, 1 year.
Oh, AJ Dillon, yeah.
Yeah. Kenyon Green, acquired in a trade, offensive line, same thing. And your favorite mine, Dorian Thompson Robinson. What?
DTR, yeah.
1 year. Well, acquired in a trade, really, but
Right, the trade, right? Because they gave him Kenny Pickett.
yeah.
To the Browns.
Yeah, we gave him that's a good backup we had.
So McKee is going to be the guy. So for the Eagles, but we'll get into all that. But first, let me introduce these guys here. I was going to introduce Jermaine. I have a good one for him too, but he's not on. So we'll get through it. So let me introduce the guy to the right. He'll have to watch on Peacock and stream that is the Niners have anyone left after they got their whole team. What up, Mike?
Yeah, the way things are going with the streaming services, it might be all the good teams are on the streaming services and the bad teams are on regular TV. So I might see my team more often.
Yeah.
They're going to be on the regular, all the
Yeah.
premium things on Peacock and Amazon and whatever, Paramount Plus, Netflix, and whatever other service. I guess Apple's the only people that don't have a game yet.
They're coming.
Yeah.
I mean, might as well.
Yeah.
Right.
That was going to be my point. Is it going to get like boxing? Because remember when boxing was all pay-per-view and they started doing that? Is this going to turn into boxing? Yeah. I don't know. So, by the way, rest in peace, George Foreman.
Foreman, what an icon.
Yeah. All right. So, in the other guy, he's on my left on my screen, but in the house, Michelle makes him keep a helmet on. Otherwise, he gets hurt falling down the steps in his John. What up?
Yeah. Keep that helmet on so when you fall down the steps, you can protect your head.
Yeah, he starts running into walls and stuff, So
yeah. Luckily, it hasn't been bothering me, so
that's good. He's padded up like paintball.
I can take that helmet off now. So. What is going on, everybody?
What's going
on? Yeah.
So, how to introduce these guys? It's been a while, so it's good to be back at least for a little bit, and we'll get the we'll start probably. I would say we'll do a draft show so you can catch us on, but you can always subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Find out when we're on, as always. So check us out on all our streaming services, and of course on Twitter, Instagram, all of those. We're Enough Said Podcast, or you can email us as always, the enoughsaidcrew@gmail.com, and all emails go to Jermaine as always. All right. So with that being said, guys, Howie gets hit in the head with the beer can and he gets rid of all these guys. What are we thinking here? That's a lot of guys to get rid of. That's a lot of talent. Did he really dig into his depth that much? What do you guys think?
I'm a little concerned about Josh. Josh Sweat. I thought we should at least keep him, honestly.
I really thought you was going to say C.J. Gardner-Johnson. That seemed to be the guy that got let go. That people were like, he had kind of not the heart and soul of the team, but just his attitude, which I don't like him, but still, I get the value that he brought to the team from a kind of a leadership, investing in that backfield, for a little bit there. The secondary was kind of struggling.
Yeah.
But once the rookies kind of got going, I think he probably had some hand in helping their development. So for them to let him go. And I mean, he got burned this season. No lie, there were times because I pointed him out. I was sending those text messages. CJ got burnt. Yes, So maybe that's what Howie saw and just said, yeah, he's a nice guy and a good rah leader guy, but he does get burned. So I guess we'll turn the reins over to somebody else. But I thought CJ was going to be the surprise that you guys would say got let go.
Yeah, it's because he was going to play Debo twice. I thought I was looking forward to that. But they had to get something. I think that's one thing that Howie does do. I think he got something for CJ when he could. I think if he would have waited another year or two. I mean, look what happened with Bradbury. He didn't get anything for him, right?
Yeah.
So you let these guys get too old, you don't get anything for him, and then all of a sudden that hurts your team. I mean, so he did what he could. He's not bad. I think he got a 5th round pick too. So I think he got something like that. So it was, wasn't that bad, but
I was a little concerned with getting rid of Kenny Pickett. I mean, I know you still got something back in return for him because I think they got DTR and I think they got a pick, but Kenny Pickett served pretty admirably when Jalen got hurt.
Oh yeah,
right.
It was like, all right, it was a comfort there because remember when Minshew came in for Jalen, and he wasn't terrible, but you lost those games, back 2 years ago. So it was kind of important to have a strong backup. And I don't know if DTR is really the guy as a backup. I mean, there's the other kid that was already there. I can't think of his name. But he came in for a hot spell and he looked pretty good. So I mean, maybe the hope is that he'll take the number 2 job. But I mean,
McKay,
McKay. But overall, I mean, Howie, right now, until proven otherwise, I mean, a lot of people think he's the master when it comes to just, being the GM. I mean, he's smoking a cigar and everything. He takes the the beer can to the head, and he's still sitting there with the dart. Like, it don't matter. You can hit me with anything. Hit me with a brick. I don't care. I'm still the man. You know.
Yeah, I think Howie is really set up for way free agency or way free agency is today.
Mhm.
You look at how teams were built as dynasties, right? So you hold on to your players and everything like that. Actually, I'm saying two things. One, I'm saying is like it seems like his way of doing getting young guys, keeping them fresh, rotating out, only sign 1 year for like veterans and stuff seems to be working to keep Eagles a successful winning team. But on the other hand, I'm kind of asking a question to you guys. Is it also hurting because like I would thought that we could keep some of those defensive players, especially like Sweat, and try to run again. We do have depth. You know, we have Cooper DeJean, we have Jeremiah Trotter Jr. We have a couple other key players that can do pretty well. Brandon Graham is now retired, so we need some kind of veteran leadership do there. So my question is like, man, how does the Eagle fan say, oh man, we want to repeat, but are we going to repeat?
Well, they lost their depth. They definitely lost depth. That's for sure. So I think Howie's got his core group of players that he wants and that he signed. And outside of that, he's going to put younger guys, and then guys on trial basis. He's not going to overpay for some of these free agents like some of these teams are doing. Like,
Right.
some of these free agents are ridiculous what they're signing. These are guys who haven't proven much or who are in their decline, and they're signing 4 or 5 year contracts that are just putting teams in hold. And so I mean, Howie is good with that. He's not going to overpay. He's going to pay his core group of agents, like you said, Andre. But I think the depth is going to take a hit if they don't stay healthy. I think that's where you're really going to start to see it kind of decline a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's what you gotta hope that the guys you drafted, and like you said, those 1 year contract guys are the ones that they're like mercenaries in a way. You're just hoping it, like a Zach Bond. It's kind of like, all right, we'll get him cheap, and he turns out to turn in an A+ year for you. And yeah, he got re-signed, but it could also been like one of those things like you'll probably never see him play like that again. So let's go ahead and get rid of him while we can, because if we do pay him a bunch of money, it's going to be diminishing returns. It kind of goes back to the Gravedigger, from 2 years ago. He had that stellar Super Bowl. He looked really good in the Super Bowl, looked good in the playoffs and everything. And then he was a free agent, and who paid him? San Francisco. Right. He went to San Fran. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't nowhere near what he was, in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And so, and I think the same thing has kind of happened. I was going to say like Milton Williams, with the Eagles. Jared, look, I was looking, you talk about guys getting overpaid and stuff. It's like Myles Garrett got a 4-year, $123 million, guaranteed contract, which is a lot of money for a DN, especially to stay in Cleveland, but it is what it is. But he is one of the considered the best defensive ends. Milton Williams got a 4-year, $100 million deal from the Patriots. And I'm like, Milton Williams was a backup.
Right.
I don't even think you guys knew who Milton Williams was. Yep. I don't think his name came up the whole entire year we did this podcast. We talked about Milton Williams. Yet he's getting paid almost, not almost, but very close, very similarly to a guy like Myles Garrett. He's going to the Patriots to be a starter. And a lot of that is from his postseason, because in the postseason, he had like 4 or 5 sacks and had some pressures and stuff like that, and did look really good in the Super Bowl. He was fresh. But the whole entire rest of the season, he had, I think, 3 sacks, and he was a rotation player. And and you're seeing it now in the league where you got these guys, they're hot, and Howie knows when to let a guy go who got hot for a time and let him go, because you're not getting that ever again out of that guy. I think he's done a pretty good job at that. And let some other sucker, think that, they're going to get, this all-star player, and they find out the hard way is like, oh, I got a lemon, just like Hassan Reddick, it's like, yep, how you do, let that guy go.
The show to put that on is the Super Bowl. You play the best of your ability during the Super Bowl. You're like, man, who's this guy? He's just coming out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And then Vaughn, he was a practice squad guy, and then he was doing very good pressure out the whole season, but then he got the interception off of, Patrick Mahomes when he sat in the center. And then like everybody's like, oh my God. So it's like when you do the best you can on the biggest stage ever, man, you're gonna get paid.
Right.
No matter what. You'll suck next year. You won't even show up.
Yeah.
That's the risk there. I mean, you hope that Bond had a lot of fundamentals and honestly just found his home. But he was a practice squad player with the New Orleans Saints, and not practice squad, but also special teams, and was never playing any starting role. And then got to the Eagles, and somehow he's now a starting linebacker. And you're like, oh, did he find himself and blossom, or was it just it's that pay year? It's that year to show out. They never get the same production ever again.
Yep. Well, and a little surprised along the same lines. Like you would think John Lynch would have kept Dre Greenlaw. I mean, knowing that he was an important part of that team. Didn't do it. Do you think he got overpaid, Greenlaw?
I think he got paid more than what San Fran was going to pay him. And then the availability thing, I think, is finally made the owner mad. I think ownership is just a little frustrated with the fact that guys got paid a lot of money and they keep getting hurt. And Greenlaw was one of the guys that did get hurt a lot. When he was on the field, he was great, but he got hurt. Just like IU. Got hurt and they're mad about that. Debo was another guy that was always hurt. Mad about that. There were a lot of guys that were hurt that I think just finally it just hit. Hufanga. Let him go as well. He was always hurt. You be as great as you can be, but if you're not available, then there's nothing there.
Yeah, well, Washington, speaking of Debo, they got some receivers. They got Gallup and they got Debo, and who else did they get? They got Noah Brown. So Washington's trying to get they re-signed Zach Ertz, so they're trying to get an offense going here.
Oh,
for sure.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. You look at the NFC East, not really too much has changed except for the Giants signing Jameis Winston. But they have, as far as quarterbacks anyway.
Yeah.
So they have Tommy Danny DeVito still, but they got Jameis Winston. They're going with that. And Zach Pascal is now a Giant.
Okay.
And they got Slayton, who signed a 3-year, $36 million deal. So he's one. As far as the other team, Dallas, I mean, no. They got Miles Sanders. They re-signed Osa, 4 years, $80 million. Just looking at other things here, they've just kind of kept the status quo. But Washington definitely made some moves. They got Tunsil in there. They got Mariota they signed Marcus Mariota again. Mm-hmm. They re-signed Zach Ertz. They got a lot. They got Will Harris in there now.
Tunsil's an intriguing signing because that guy has a name. He has a reputation as being an all-pro, all-star left tackle, but last year in Houston, he had problems. Yeah, I mean, he was false starting all over the place. It was like he couldn't hold his water. And it was like, was it the coaching? And because they fired the offensive coordinator and they fired the offensive line coach. So was it the coaching that made Laramie Tunsil have a bad year, or is he actually declining? And that they were happy to kind of let him go, and that Washington thinks they got a bargain, but they really didn't. I mean, I know Washington's real excited about him. I mean, if he turns out to be anywhere what he used to be or you're expected to be, it's a steal. I mean, it's like getting another Trent Williams on your left side. But yeah, I thought that was kind of surprising that they were okay with that trade, that they, the Texans was kind of like, sure, I know CJ Stroud, after getting lit up all season, it's kind of like, what are you guys doing to me?
Yeah, that was an interesting trade because they got Tunsil along with a 4th round pick in exchange for a 3rd and 7th round in 2025 and a 2nd and 4th round in 2026. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Washington is definitely making themselves a contender. We saw that last year, going to the NFC Championship against us.
Yeah.
So,
they're starting to build it. If they're trading draft picks away, they're starting to build it.
They'll be a force. They'll be a force to recken with. And we'll see, like we talked about before, is Jaden, sophomore slump, or is he the real deal?
and he
I
could be the
honestly
real
think
deal.
he's the
Still have a
real deal.
sophomore.
Like
Yeah.
like CJ Stroud disappointed me because from what I saw the year before, he was so explosive.
Mhm.
And then in this year, man, the offensive line couldn't get it together. He was just confused and all that. But anyway, back to Washington. Yeah, man, they are coming to say we are going to play and we're going to not let the Eagles get the NFC championship, NFC East. That good. Well,
There's never been that repeat champion, right? Every year,
right.
there's always someone that also wins that division. So let's see if that holds true. But
Yeah.
JD5, he could be the truth. He could still have a sophomore slump and also still be, the guy. I mean, it's just, people figure you out, and then you have to figure yourself out and get better. I mean, Lamar had his moments where it seemed like people figured him out, so he had to up his game, get better at passing, and then he became, the MVP, and so it could happen. Even CJ Stroud might rebound. I mean, when you get pressure, everyone turns into a pumpkin, it seems like. You saw in the Super Bowl, I mean, Mahomes, we all argue Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks we've seen in God knows when, but when he got pressured, he looked like Sam Darnold, right? The ghost, seeing them ghosts.
Seeing them ghosts.
Yeah. Well, let's look at the NFC West. Speaking of some players here, some quarterbacks as well, seeing ghosts. Arizona, Jacoby Brissett, 2-year, $12.5 million. LA, Jimmy G is back in the picture, Mike. He's going to LA. Matthew Stafford restructured his contract. Mac Jones coming to the Niners, 2 years, $7 million. Why?
Yeah.
And then the Ghost, he's in Seattle now. Seeing ghosts, 3 years, $100.5 million deal, $55 million guaranteed, 37.5 in year one for Sam Darnold with Seattle. Man,
and I've been texting this to you guys and stuff, but it's kind of a sad state of affairs when free agency and the top pick in terms of a quarterback signing, the biggest deal is Sam Darnold going to Seattle. Like, that's the best that we got right now of all the quarterbacks that are out there, or quarterbacks like you think about in the past. So many different guys. It's like, oh, this person's a free agent, and it's a chance for him to leave and go start with another team, and there's excitement. And like the most exciting thing we got is Sam Darnold, who I don't know what he's going to. I mean, I cannot believe that he's going to succeed in Seattle. I mean, Geno, he worked magic out there, man, because that dude had no protection. He was kind of like Russell Wilson, had no offensive line, and Geno had no offensive line. Geno would just make plays and extend things. I mean, he killed my team, single-handedly, all by himself. He was getting pressured left and right, and he was escaping out the pocket, getting the yards he needed to just clinch the game. You ain't going to get that at Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold ain't scrambling. No. I mean, I don't know what the heck they were thinking. It's like, that's a downgrade to me.
Well, they're spending money. They got Cooper Kupp too, $45 million. They got DeMarcus Lawrence, 3 years, $42 million. I mean, they spent some money. Ernest Jones, 3 years, $33 million. They're doing the opposite of what Howie's doing. They're signing these veterans.
Yeah.
But
go on. Yeah.
No, I was saying, like, you're right, Mike, because Sam was supposed to stay in Minnesota, but in Minnesota it was really a big, like, what do you call it, audition. Based on what they told him and what they said, and when they saw it towards the end, he just folded back to the old Jets. Sam Darnold, and Minnesota's like, well, I don't know if we want him now. They were like,
we're not for the money.
Out.
Not for the money.
How we're gonna see him again? Yeah, all right, for that money.
Right.
And then you got Seattle coming out of like you know what? We're gonna sign him for this amount of money for 1 year, right?
Yeah.
So
but they had Geno, and I know Geno is older than Sam, but Geno is pretty good. I mean, he was kind of like the guy there. I don't think people were like, we need to get rid of Geno Smith. And for them to make that move, it's like, I think they saw Sam Darnold, it's like him being, cast in like a Martin Scorsese picture or something like that. You're like, oh, look at his acting is so great. And it's like, yeah, well, this guy, he's got a legendary director, and he's probably acting alongside Leonardo DiCaprio and some other people. So you're just kind of like, he's got Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and whatnot. And so what's he going to do with JSN and Cooper Kupp, who's all right, but Cooper Kupp's not the same Cooper Kupp we all know. I mean, if he was,
every year,
they wouldn't have let him go. Especially when they signed Devontae Adams for roughly the same money that they would have had to pay Kupp. So it wasn't a money thing. I mean, Los Angeles just like, dude, you're old and broke. We
Yeah.
love you, but it's time to go.
Yep,
You
time to
know,
go.
so
Well, yeah, man, it's
go,
crazy.
go, yeah,
Oh, no, I was just gonna say. Speaking of the Vikings, so they were the one who signed the Gravedigger, 2 year, $30 million. They re-signed Aaron Jones. They got Jordan Mason, your boy from
yeah.
yeah.
I think it's a good signing.
Yeah, in a trade with the 49ers, 49ers gave him a 6th-round pick in exchange for a 2025 5th-rounder and a 2026 6th-rounder. 2 million or 2 year deal, sorry, 7 million max value 12. So it's interesting. And then the other team that had a great year last year, Detroit, didn't do much so far. I mean, they signed Kyle Allen. That's going to be their quarterback. I mean, the big names really. All right, Derek Barnes, maybe 3 years, 25 million extension. Avante Maddox, they signed him. DJ Reed, maybe, but other than that, they've been quiet. And
Yeah,
that was a tough division. So I don't know, but I mean, Minnesota's obviously going. I don't know what they're doing at quarterback because you don't know what you got there with the guy who was hurt all last year. Where are you going to go? I don't know. So I don't even know who their backup is at this point. And then you don't know what Detroit's going to do with their coaching. That's been a complete turnover because they lost both
yeah.
coordinators. And
Yep.
then, I mean, yeah, I don't know what Detroit's
Isn't
going to
Danny
do.
Dimes still the backup Minnesota? I didn't think they got rid of Danny Dimes.
I think he
Or
might
is he
be.
still out
Yeah,
there?
I think he's.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
he's
he
still,
is.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. If anyone's going to turn him around, it would be that coach. I mean, Kevin O'Connell seems to be the quarterback whisperer that anybody can play in that system and seem to do pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
or good enough that they can be competitive. But yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be all right with JJ McCarthy. I mean, at least with him, he got hurt early in the season. I mean, firstly, personal experience and learning all too well about ACL injuries and how long it takes to recover. It definitely
Mm-hmm.
takes forever, it seems like. But a good solid year for him, and I guess it will be a solid year of recovery. He should be able to play and be okay. He might have a brace on, but still, he should be able to. They just got to protect him. They just got to not expect him to have to scramble a lot. They're gonna have to make him kind of pass from the pocket. But again, you're throwing to Jordan, to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and the tight end I think is still there too. So it should make life a little easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Team that's made a lot of moves. We saw them improve last year. I think they're going to continue to this year. The Chargers. So they signed Taylor Heineke as their backup. 1 year they re-signed him. Najee Harris is now over there. Mike Williams also re-signed. They got Khalil Mack, who re-signed a 1 year, $18 million contract. There's a lot of guys on here. Actually, they're making some moves for sure. Mikael Becton, 2 years, $20 million from the Eagles. So Chargers guys again, Harbaugh making some moves.
Right. Well, it wasn't Becton a 1 year guy too. Wasn't he a guy that Howie took a swing on, and he
Yep.
had he'll never play that good again kind of year, So the Chargers are looking at him like, how come you're not going to play like this, like you played for the Eagles last year? He's going to be like, I got paid.
Yeah. Well, Eagles, their offensive line coach is probably the best in the league. I mean, he's just phenomenal. I mean, he's going to turn anybody into somebody good. And same thing, I think the defensive coordinator. I mean, you got to look at him and say, you know what? He did a hell of a job. That defense was last in the league. In the league, and he turned them into a top tier defense in 1 year. He completely turned that around. Yeah. So, and that's who the Eagles wanted from the beginning. They couldn't get him because they were a little bit late because the guy, quit early, or they got rid of him early, and they had a mess on the defensive side. But
because you're coming out the Super Bowl, you're the last people to pick,
Yep. And they got their guy, and he's made a difference. Now, how are they going to do with the offensive coordinator? That's yet to be determined, but we'll see. Again, another offensive coordinator, guys. So Jalen Hurts, that's just number 5 or 6, I think.
Yeah.
It sounds like
credit. Yeah, gotta give him his credit, man. There's not a lot of quarterbacks that can have so much turnaround and still be productive.
But I think they said it's going to be extremely similar because they pretty much ran this offense together. So I think because it's internal, I think it's going to be very similar, and I don't think it'll be too much of a change. And they already have that relationship, so supposedly it's a good relationship so far. So
yeah, it's good that this year we didn't lose both coordinators. Prior.
Look
at Detroit. I don't know what Detroit's going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of going back, you were mentioning about the free agency that's you said the Chargers, right?
Yep, Chargers.
Mhm.
To me, like the Najee Harrison is not really an upgrade. he's pretty much like a par
I
kind of
don't.
guy from the previous guy that ran there, which was what's the name from
Gus
that?
Edwards.
Right, Gus Edwards.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That came from Baltimore.
Yep.
So is it really an upgrade for them? Like, I don't know what, like, yeah, you got Harbaugh, but I don't know, man. Like, Chargers to me they should do like a house cleaning to me and go get their draft picks this year and get some more young wide receivers because, what's the name? Is he still there? The old wide receiver.
No, Keenan Allen's gone.
Mike Williams is still there.
Well, I knew Mike Williams was still there.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not that good. Yeah, he
No,
was
he
there, and he went
aired out one time.
He got rolled under the bus by Aaron Rodgers in New York, and it was the same guy. And now he's back, but he's not really adding anything to that team. It's still Ladd McConkey, and that's about it. They got to get some other people that can catch the ball out there.
Yeah.
Well, they invested heavily in cornerback because they signed Jackson and Molden. Jackson signed 2-year, $13 million. Molden was 3 years, $18.75 million. So they went heavy at cornerback. So I suspect, knowing Harbaugh, he's going to start with the defense and he's going to build over. So
and then Greg Roman is still an offensive coordinator, so there's going to be a commitment to running the ball. That's this thing.
And Jalen Reagor re-signed with the Chargers. So
I don't know why. I don't know why. Boy, that guy dropped so many passes last year that were like critical. I was like, Kai, I can't believe that guy's on your team. He's like, I don't know why we took him. I mean,
speaking of drop passes, do you know who had a 0% drop pass rate? He's like the only guy who had it.
Oh, that's a good one. Let me guess. I'm going through. Not a drop pass.
One wide receiver. Wide receiver had a 0% drop.
A wide receiver. Okay.
Yeah, had a 0% drop pass rate. He caught everything that came his way. There was one.
God, don't take my tongue. Do you know Mike?
No, I don't. I'm trying to think. I feel like it's probably someone who doesn't usually get the ball a lot.
You're gonna kick yourself when you find out who it is.
It's a receiver.
It's not AJ Brown, is it?
It's a receiver.
No, it's not AJ Brown.
Okay.
No, he dropped.
It is.
Is
AJ
it
Brown.
Is it? I thought he dropped one.
Brown. It is the real deal. They said. They said
that. He didn't get the ball
on my
tongue, like 5 games.
I swear, I thought he dropped one.
They're saying no.
He wasn't getting the ball. He probably
Sal,
pass.
Then that proves the point about his book.
Real deal. Real deal.
Work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and there's an example of Howie, right? Howie's got him. He's got all the receivers now are shored up. I think he's going to have to move a tight end because he just signed 2 tight ends. There's rumors that Dallas Goedert's on the trading block. He's getting to be 30 years old. He's been hurt a lot, similar to Debo. He's been hurt like every year. He's still good. He's a great tight end, but they also got Grant Tarantula, who I call him. He's still there. And they're not going to start with 4 tight ends. So somebody is going to have to go. I think they're going to probably try to trade Dallas Goedert for somebody, unfortunately, but maybe they draft. There's a great tight end from Penn State. I don't think he'll be there by the time the Eagles draft him. But something's going to happen, I think, at the tight end position for the Eagles this year. Okay. For sure.
Yeah.
Now Covey's probably not going to resign. Like I said, he's out. So a lot of turnover, man, on some of these teams. Except for Dallas. I don't know. Dallas never does anything. So who knows? Yeah. I still don't get that coach in Dallas. I don't know. I don't get the coach in Dallas either. That coaching change. I don't.
I don't get that. I don't get Micah Parsons. I just. Yeah. I don't get
none of it.
Yeah, I saw Micah Parsons, the guy was the Marcus Lawrence signed with Seattle, and then he's like, I had to leave because I just didn't think we were ever going to win a Super Bowl in Dallas. And, he wasn't like trying, like he was throwing shade, but not. I mean, he was just kind of being honest, like I've been there for 9 years and never seen like got close. And Micah Parsons is like, oh, you're jealous and this and that, and dude said
jealous of what?
He's like. He's like, if you had spent more time, trying to win instead of being on the podcast, I would have stayed. And I was just kind of like, I was like, we
Yeah.
all been waiting to say that. Yeah, but this
Yeah.
dude would just get off his podcast and go out and make a tackle. Maybe they would be a little better. But
Mhm.
I don't know. Man. I heard one time. I don't know if it was true or not that he's going to restructure Dak's contract to get more guys in.
Mhm.
They did.
Okay, that's what I thought.
They restructured some of it. I mean, they can't do but so much with that. So I mean, it's still not enough to like bring in a lot of guys, but it was it helped a little bit. But yeah, I mean that and CeeDee Lamb make up I think 40% of their cap number. I mean, it's just like Jamar Chase and T Higgins and Joe Burrow now make up I think 40-something% of the cap number for the Bengals now. So it's like 40% of your spend of the whole entire team is in 3 players. So I don't know what they're going to do to build that defense up that was so bad last year, and the offensive line that still never seems to get right.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I heard they're trying to get what's his face from Buffalo, wide receiver.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, why am I drawing a blank on his name? But they're trying to get him.
Who is? The Cowboys?
Dallas. Yep.
Cowboys, yeah. The play. Well, his brother plays for defense.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on his name.
So am I, and we all know his name.
Yeah, Amari Cooper. Thank you. I couldn't think.
Oh,
yeah.
No, Amari Cooper.
He's a free agent. I thought
they're trying to get him.
I thought it was the diva that broke his knee. That was.
Oh no, not him.
You're thinking Diggs.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Diggs. Sorry.
Yeah.
They want to get Amari Cooper back.
They want to get Amari Cooper back. That's
okay.
He didn't really do a whole lot. I mean, maybe he just didn't know the offense, but I thought he would do well in Buffalo with Josh Allen, but he wasn't much of a factor in the playoffs.
Yeah.
When they needed him, I didn't think he was much of a factor at all.
Let's talk about Buffalo for a minute because they, who's going to? I think maybe Buffalo will be the only team that maybe could challenge Kansas City. Josh Allen, 6 years, guys, $330 million with $250 million guaranteed. That is crazy. Khalil Shakir, I remember him. Yeah, I had him on my fantasy team last year. He didn't do a thing. 4 years, $60 million. He didn't do a thing last year. Kendrick Green, okay. Joey Bosa. They did sign Bosa.
Yeah, Bosa.
Obviously, they signed your boy DeMar Hamlin. He's in there, and other than that, I mean, Josh Palmer, 3 years, $36 million. I don't see anybody else on here that really kind of, I don't know. Greg Rousseau, 4 year, $80 million, $54 million guaranteed. So they overpaid. They're going to be in the same situation as Dallas. When you pay your starting quarterback $250 million guarantee, guys. Whew.
Yeah.
I don't see.
But I will
say. Go ahead. Go, Mike. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, at least with him, he's proven that with less, he can still get them to be competitive. Because last year was supposed to be a reset year. And, I thought Josh Allen was the MVP just because I saw him be one of those guys that did seem like he made players better. Like he did elevate the play of guys that otherwise, would just be so on other teams, that other guys stepped up. I mean, Zach Moss having him as running game, that makes a big difference. But, I just think that's what the ownership saw. It's like, okay, this guy is an actual, he can kind of carry a team and get other guys to be better than anybody else can. So it's okay to pay him because we can give him less and he'll still find a way to deliver. Versus some other guys that get paid, like Sam Darnold, he's only looking like that because he's been around the best guys, and they're going to find out quickly that we give him subpar guys or guys that just aren't the cream of the crop, the play's going to fall off. So, yeah, I think Josh Allen, a lot of money, but I guess I got to say he's earned it,
Jeez.
It's the Buffalo Bills, man. It doesn't matter how much you pay them or how much less you pay them. To me, they're a type of team that they just can't finish. They come out blazing during the season, right? They looking like they're going to be the top AFC contender. And then I keep putting my finger on it. I don't know if it's the coaching
Mhm.
or the players are balling. I mean, Josh is balling. You know,
Yeah.
they got a receiver, they got a running back. You know, the defense is supposed to be right there in the top 5, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
they were a
Mhm.
little down this year, but they were good enough.
it's the
It's,
Buffalo Bills, man. That's all I can say.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just that whole, it's the AFC and those top teams that, one's always going to rise. It seems like, Buffalo just has the unfortunate, that Kansas City and Baltimore, happen to exist. If those teams didn't exist, Buffalo probably be in Super Bowl all 4 years by now. But unfortunately, there's a handful of really, really good teams that's going to always be
Yeah.
at the top in that division, and they can't get past those teams. But it's like out of 16 teams in that conference,
Mhm.
there's 2 of them that they just have a hard time with, or at least one they would have a hard time. Is Kansas City.
Well, the other team you can argue that starts out the opposite. We talked about teams starting fast like Buffalo. This team starts out slow, and they're also kind of doing the salary cap like the Dallas Cowboys, and they're spending it on maybe 2-3 players. Let's talk about the Bengals guys. Jamar
Yep.
Chase,
Mhm.
4 years, 161 million. T. Higgins, 4 years, 115 million. That's 276 million on wide receivers alone. Good Lord.
Mm.
And well, Samaje Perine, I mean, 3.8
Yeah.
million, whatever.
Yeah.
But but it got look between Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, they're done. That's
Yeah,
like
that's what
it.
I'm saying. There's like 40% of their salary cap is in those 3 guys.
Yeah.
And look, Joe Burrow, I know his injury history makes it a little tough, but it is what it is. He's
Mhm.
really good. So yeah, they paid him. And then Jamar Chase, I think it speaks for himself. You've seen that guy laid it up. T. Higgins, I think it's tough to replace, but at the same
Mhm.
time, I don't know if it was really necessary to pay him.
Yep.
I mean, I know it's kind of like watching Howie pay AJ Brown and paid Devontae Smith. Like 2 top receivers getting a bunch of money, and they are good, but
Mhm.
I don't know, man. T. Higgins, he's had some injuries, and I don't know. It's a lot of money to commit to that team when you don't have nothing else. Like your defense was so bad last year with the Bengals, like
Yeah.
so bad. That they got to
Mhm.
commit so much time and money, and they had a lot of money tied up in that defense, and they were just bad players. But still, you got to fix it. You're not going to be able to fix it when you're throwing, chunk of all that money into your offense and 3 players on your offense.
Well,
I agree.
They tried, Mike. They signed Oren Burks.
Yeah, that's another guy. Another guy showed up in the Super Bowl in the
Right.
playoffs, looking awesome. Got his deal. Here it comes. He'll never be that good again.
Man, yeah, he had a rough time for you guys in the Super Bowl. I will say
Well,
that.
I know. 9 out of
Um,
9 targets. Yeah, sure.
yeah.
Yeah, Higgins is now
Mm,
smiling. He's happy.
mhm.
He's smiling from ear to ear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's like, I'm paid. I considered I'm a top wide receiver.
yeah.
But you're right. You're right, guys. Like defensively, like that secondary was horrible.
Yep.
The secondary was pretty bad.
The run game was
Um,
bad. They gave a lot of run. I mean, it was just bad
Mhm.
overall. It was
oh yeah, they were bad
horrible.
overall. But it's just one game sticking out in my head was the Baltimore game, and
Mhm.
they were just going back and forth like it was
Yeah,
like it was
good
no
teams, right?
right.
No
Yeah.
defense.
So
Yeah,
what
no
what
defense.
a Burrows is like, okay, I got my guys, but defensively, the Cincinnati Bengals really got to do something during the draft. This is what's going to be interesting.
Yep.
Was college last year good for a lot of defensive players? Probably so, but remember all the focus was on the quarterbacks, Deion Sanders' son and a
Mhm.
couple other quarterbacks. So that's always seemed like to be the focus. But to me, last year was actually a pretty good year. A lot of defensive players went early last year.
Yep.
Actually, there wasn't that many quarterbacks last year, except for Jalen Daniels and the guy from Chicago.
Yep.
But yeah, they got to do something with that defense with the money left over, and how much can they do? I don't know.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to talk about the other team that was supposed to compete with KC, which I know it's your favorite team, Andre. Let's talk about the Ravens.
Yeah,
Cooper Rush is now a Baltimore Raven. 2 years, $12.2 million. They resigned Ronnie Staley. That was obviously their big 3 year, $60 million, their offensive lineman that they needed. Other than that, they've been pretty quiet. They signed DeAndre Hopkins 1 year. Tylan Wallace resigned, but that's it, guys. So they're going with Lamar Jackson and they're going with what they got. Unless again, this is not a year in the draft for, like I would call it, the key position players. It's going to be offensive and defensive line. That's it.
Yeah.
So Cooper Rush is the quarterback that played for Dallas, right?
He was the backup. Yeah.
He was but he played pretty damn good for the Cowboys. Because Cowboys had Turbin, they had the other guy, other wide receiver. Like Turbin was the running back. And to me, it looked like they had and that tight end Schultz. Was it Schultz? Yeah, Schultz. To me, I wish he would have stayed in Dallas and get rid of Dak and let Dak back up, Lamar. But all I'm saying is, though, that's a good quarterback to have, honestly, as a backup for him. As you can see from this past season, again, the turnovers hurt. I think from what Lamar did, but I don't think it was always his fault last year, because now I sit back, I soak on it, and I look at it. That's why you got Derrick Henry. You should have ran him to death. Well, now keep running him, and you changed up your strategy in playing Buffalo. So I was like, okay, so what are they going to do now this year? Okay, I heard the signings. I don't know where they are in the draft. I guess they're pretty much down in the bottom.
They got 11 picks, though.
They got 11 picks.
Yeah, them, San Fran, one other team have 11 picks in this draft because of so many guys that left, and they got all those compensatory picks. So
right.
Yeah, they I gotta say that 3 times fast. Yeah, so
Aguilar, Aguilar was like the number 2 wide receiver, wasn't he?
He was, but he wasn't good. I mean,
I know. Of course, I know he wasn't good. But what I'm saying is, like, they got to go get a little bit more weapons. You know what I mean? And I go back on secondary. Their corners need to be a little more polished. So Sal, the Ravens, man, they got to do something, because Pittsburgh, they're trying to move everything around. I don't
want to talk about that.
Cleveland Browns.
We'll get to them.
Are the Cleveland Browns? Okay, they're the Cleveland Browns. And then we just talked about the Bengals. So that AFC North is really going to ride on between Bengals and I think Baltimore. I'm not sure what Pittsburgh's doing.
Yeah. We'll get to Pittsburgh, but I Pittsburgh, all right, Kenny Gainwell, they picked him up. We'll get to Pittsburgh here. Scotty Miller. I don't know, Scotty Miller. Darius Slay. If you're happy about Darius Slay, he's now a Pittsburgh Steeler. Malik Harrison, maybe. I mean, a good defensive lineman. Other than that, DK Metcalf, they acquired him in a trade. So
that's really the big signing for them. And really, the big problem for them is just, okay, who's throwing them the ball?
Exactly.
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
They still don't know. It's like, well, I don't even know why to even entertain Aaron Rodgers. If people were like, oh, this would be great for Mike Tomlin to have him. And it's like, don't even entertain that, man. Just, and this actually picks up a bigger issue that I hope we wanted to talk about real quick. But there ain't no talent out there, man. I'm sorry,
Trey Lance. Sign Trey Lance.
You really just have to stick with Russell Wilson. There is no talent out there for a lot of positions.
There isn't.
And I don't know why. I mean, I think this is actually a problem for the league. Something is going on. Something has changed to where we got to a point where free agency actually is not all that exciting, and that some of the guys getting big deals, are backups and bit players, who have specific roles on teams, and not like, I mean, last year we had excitement with Saquon. It was like, oh my God, he's coming behind an Eagles line. I'd love to see that, or Derrick Henry running with Lamar Jackson. And it's like that's exciting, but there ain't no excitement this year. And Pittsburgh is a prime example of that. Like, what the hell are they going to do? They don't have many choices for a quarterback to even bring in there that's going to make me, like, as a as the number 2 Steeler fan, right? You know, who are they going to bring in that's going to make me be like, oh, this is going to be the year they're going to be better than last year? Hell no. I mean, Russell's probably your best chance, and that's still not all excitement. But if I was a Steeler fan and then they're going to tell me Aaron Rodgers coming, like, oh, what the hell, you know? Or are we going to get Sam Darnold? Oh, what the hell, you know? Justin Fields, like, come on, we've been there, done that. There's no talent. There's no one out there.
Well, Trey Lance is available. I'm telling you.
Probably, but you know, if you were a Steelers fan, you'd be like, "Oh, we got Trey Lance. He was a number 1 draft pick that can't beat out Cooper Rush for a job."
Yeah,
I'm getting excited about that.
So it's a non-talent going to make them fire Tomlin if he has a horrible season.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Justin Fields. Speaking of no talent, we can talk about the Jets. So go ahead, Mike. Let's not get there yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you kind of could, because I mean that's a sad situation too.
It is.
Yeah, I don't know if I was in New York that I'd be looking at that like, oh man, this is going to be the year they're going to turn it around with Justin Fields. This is going to be more of the same old crap. That boy. When he was in Chicago, then we kept joking about it. You know, you know, it's just kind of like, man, that guy goes there. He looks like he is in so much pain. Like this is just woe is me agony. You know, like they burning my feet or something. And sure enough, he's gonna go to New York. They're gonna be doing the same exact thing. He's gonna look like an old man getting up, like my back, my neck, back. Man, this is painful. This line won't protect for me. This is horrible. You know, this kid's gonna get lit up, and then they're gonna talk bad about him. I mean. They gave him a new deal too. I mean, they paid him, they gave him guarantees. I know he's just kind of like, man, I need to get hurt as quickly as possible so I can sit at home and count this money because this is so crap.
That's so bad. You know, it's interesting. A team that we thought a lot of us thought were really going to take steps forward last year, and they didn't. The Houston Texans. Let's talk about them for a second. So. They got Christian Kirk. Yay. To go along with what you said.
The guy stole money. He stole money again.
Yeah.
That was Trey's guy, Christian Kirk.
Yep.
They got Ronald Darby. They got CJ Garner-Johnson. That's it, guys. They're rolling with what they got too. Like you said, some teams just aren't biting into the talent that's out there. Like you said, they're not seeing it.
Yeah,
you know?
They're retaining their guys, but it's sad because what I see is, in my opinion, I see a lot of teams retaining guys that aren't that good, but the options are even worse. You know, it's the Miami's keeping Tua because there's no other quarterback to replace him. But come on, man, Tua's not the guy. Or Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. It's like, you know, you gotta let him go be on another team and see another change of pace. You know, he should be a free agent. He should be somewhere else getting a fresh start. But, you know, Jacksonville's kind of like, well, we can't let him go. We got to kind of keep him and make it work. And it's like, I see a lot of making it work with the talent you got and not trying to go out there and get other guys. And I don't know. I mean, I looked at you know, I'm kind of veering off a little bit, but I mean, when I looked at free agency, I looked like some of the guys like Kansas City. One of their big signings was Jalen Moore, and he came from San Francisco. He was Trent Williams' backup. Okay. And he was admirable. I mean, he did okay, but they paid him starting left tackle money like he's going to be like Laramie Tunsil for Washington. And I'm like, this dude, his rankings, you know, as an offensive lineman are not top. You know, but that's what is out there. So Kansas City is like, well, this is probably the best option we got for a left tackle to pass protect for, you know, our legendary quarterback. And then it's kind of like, all right, how are we to this point that subpar guys are getting paid, you know, starter money, you know, and it's like, I don't know, it seems like something's going on with the talent pool out there. Like, I can't pinpoint it. I don't know if you guys see that, but that's what I'm seeing.
Well, speaking of the talent level out there, the Colts, we talked about Daniel Jones earlier. He did sign with the Colts, by the way. I thought he was still with Minnesota too, but no, he actually signed with the Colts. 1 year, $14 million. So they're giving him. So he's with your boy, Mike, Travarius Ward.
Yeah, actually, he's with Anthony Richardson, which people were like, well, if he beats out Richardson for the job, then Richardson is done. You know, that's a failed experiment if you lose your job to Danny Dimes.
And he wasn't, obviously San Fran wasn't going to sign Ward for $60 million, but there was something personal that went on with Travarius Ward. I think he lost his daughter or something like that. He had a rough
Yes.
time
Yeah.
staying there. So,
Yeah.
so he needed a fresh start. So he's in Indianapolis too. It's another team, another quarterback situation there. Like you said, what's the talent level there? I have no idea. Like Steichen's got his hands full there. That's all I'm going to say.
If you think about it, that division, what quarterback is really good? Because you got Tennessee,
Stroud.
I know
Stroud,
but he's struggling. He's struggling because coaching, maybe offensive line talent, maybe. I mean, that's what I saw
we're
last
gonna
year.
find out because they fired everybody.
They fired everybody.
At least they addressed the situation. They seem like, all right, we're not gonna let this linger on, so at least we're gonna address it. But
can Richardson stay healthy? Had that early shoulder injury in the beginning of the season, and he definitely has talent. I see it. But you're right. That division right there, the quarterbacks are really lacking talent, except for C.J. Stroud. But
they are. Yeah. Let's talk. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, if from a free agency perspective, the only team I saw that I think made really wise moves in terms of if I was a fan, I would say, yeah, we got better, and that's the Broncos. I think the Broncos really did it right.
Okay.
Greenlaw was is a risk, but it's like, all right, it's kind of a boomer bust kind of thing, and it's like if it's a bust, you had some depth there on linebacker anyway, so it's not like you're going backwards if Dre Greenlaw doesn't play. But if he does play and plays the level he's played in the past, then it's a win. Hufanga is also kind of a similar kind of thing. They had a good defense last year, so they got guys that could make them just better. But if they go back to the same defense they were last year, they're still good. Bo Nix now going into his second year, which he has looked like he's gotten a lot better. And then, the guys they had on offense, it started to really kind of come together. They got Patrick Surtain still on defense. He's the top cornerback in the league. I think Denver looked like they look scary, man. I think that they made smart moves.
And if they can get a young receiver from the draft, that's good. I think that'll really be good too, because Sutton, right? Sutton is kind of old, but he's still productive. But they need some young, fast hands, to catch the ball, and maybe through the draft they can pick up somebody. Because you're right, Denver will be one of our teams. I think that when we talk about podcasts, what team would be like
they could be
improved over secretive team, whatever coming up.
Yeah, that's sleeper.
Because Denver was right there, man, and I like Bo Nix. I like him.
It seemed like Sean Payton,
Yeah.
It looked like, oh man, old coach don't really have it, but he seemed like he had his stuff together. Like he really did have a plan for this. He had to get rid of Russell Wilson. It really just kind of, knock it down and really start building it back up the way he wanted it to be built. And it seems like that's working. I think that's also part of the reason why the Raiders said, no, we're going to get Pete Carroll, because we need that experienced coach that can just set this thing and put things on the right track,
right.
And you just can't get that from a young guy who's never done it before.
Yeah, staying in the AFC West. I know I'm bouncing a little bit around here. We'll wrap up after this, but let's talk about the Chiefs. Obviously the defending champs on the West. Gardner Minshew, guys, 1-year contract there. Kareem Hunt resigned. Liza Mitchell signed a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. Marquise Brown, Juju Schuster signed. Trey Smith is franchise tag there now. They're going to pay him a lot, $23.4 million, unless they restructure that and get him a long-term deal. They signed their linebacker, Nick Bolton, who had a pretty good year.
Yeah, it did.
So, I mean, overall, kind of status quo. It's going to be the Mahomes show, and they're going to try to just put some talent around them as much as they can. But definitely think Gardner Minshew is a good backup for them. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
And they're going with the wide receivers that they have. They're going with Schuster and Brown. So
yeah, well, I guess the hope is Worthy and Rice will.
I was about to say Worthy and Rice.
So you don't have to really depend on Marquise Brown
right.
and Schuster like as much as they did this past year.
Right. Didn't Worthy get in trouble? I think with something.
No, he did, but they dropped the chart. It was something stupid.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's going to face any issues unless
He's
it's
very explosive on his legs,
yeah.
and I think
I'll say this: the summer is not over yet, right? There's still
Yeah.
time. There's still time for a chief receiver to still get in trouble. To go rent another
something.
Lamborghini and go racing again.
Oh God.
Man, oh man. So
So, well,
Now, what's the whole thing with Kelsey?
he
Did
said
he
he's
say
back. He
he's
said he's
coming
playing.
back,
He said he
right?
can't go out like that. I
He
was like,
can't
well,
go
you
out
should
like that because
you
he
shouldn't have
doesn't like
gone out like that to start with. You
he
should have
doesn't like
shown
to
up.
lose. I get it. He don't like to lose.
Should have shown up. You wouldn't have gone out like that.
But
You didn't
if
even
I was
show up.
Kansas City, you go draft a tight end. You go draft a tight end.
They
Honestly.
might. They could. It wouldn't. It ain't gonna hurt anybody's feelings. I mean, what is he gonna be like? Oh, I can't believe you got a tight end. It's like, dude,
No, it's like
you're out of here.
it's time.
mhm.
It's time.
You go teach somebody. Don't do the Aaron Rodgers thing. Go be helpful.
And we got to see if Patrick Mahomes is back as a Patrick Mahomes. Because last year that wasn't even him. If you think about it,
Yeah, he did not have a great.
he didn't have a good year last year. He had the most turnovers he ever had in his career. Actually,
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was kind of himself in one aspect, and that was when the game was close and the plays had to be made late. He could do it.
Yeah.
That was the clutch
Mhm.
factor, and that's kind of why they won so many games because of the clutch factor. Because they really should have lost a lot more, and we all saw at the end where the luck finally ran out.
Mhm.
But I think the one signing that they have, and it'd be very interesting to see how it pans out, is Elijah Mitchell. This guy, I know him from San Francisco, and when he was healthy, he was a good, second running back to Christian McCaffrey. But health is the problem. He was hurt a lot, but he could run hard. And the one thing I saw in the Super Bowl that really hurt the Chiefs, one, they didn't commit to the run, but I think also they just had no one to really smash and really, put the Eagles into, okay, we got to stop the run mode. The Eagles were in straight pass rush mode the whole time. There was no threat of the run. So they was like, we can pin our ears back and rush every time. So I think the Chiefs have saw that, and it's like, all right, we really do need to have to go back to running the ball some way, somehow. Running the game, it just protects quarterbacks, no matter who you are. I mean, Josh Allen, as great as he is, and how much I think he was MVP, him having Zach Moss being able to run the ball really settled him down so much that he stopped turning the ball over and stopped trying to play hero ball all the time. Every great quarterback seems to have a good, solid running back that settles him down. Saquon settled down Jalen. You saw it firsthand at the beginning of the season. He was throwing the ball a lot, and he was throwing picks, and all kinds. They finally said, "Nah, dude, we're letting Saquon handle the load." And as soon as he started running the ball a lot more, Jalen settled down, So you got to have a running attack.
Yep.
You do. All right, let's wrap it up really quickly. Guys, give me your one team that did really good. We talked about Denver, and then one team that you're like, I don't know what they're doing.
Dallas.
Let's start with you.
Dallas. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
almost want to say my team. I don't know what they're doing.
Really,
I know they're cutting
49ers.
salary. Yeah, I know they're cutting salary. I'm guessing is going to the draft. But I don't know. I don't know what the mindset is. I don't know if we're in, draft well and be competitive mode, or is this actually is like restarting almost a rebuild. So yeah, I can't say.
Tough one style for me. Like, which one is actually like, oh, they did really for the draft. I mean, I'm sorry for free agency. Ooh,
I do like Denver. I think that was a good choice.
Denver, I agree. I agree with Denver.
Do you give Howie the benefit of the doubt here?
I was going to say Washington.
Yeah, I was going to say Washington is possible. It's risk, but I think you got to take risk, to have that reward. So Debo was a risk. If he turns out to stay healthy and is anything like his old self, man, that's a steal.
Right.
Laramie Tunsil's the same way, and they re-signed some guys too. But Washington could be that other team. I think you could say did well.
All right. Thoughts on Howie real quick? To be determined. I guess to be determined. Still early.
Yeah, to be determined. Like I said, when you could say CJ Gardner, I was saying Sweat. I wish we'd have kept Sweat.
Yeah, but he's was he 30, 33, 30? He's
over
over
30.
There.
He's over 30, and that's the MO we know.
You're not sending him. You're not keeping him. Not to pay him. He got paid. There's no way you
gotta,
mm-hmm.
But we do have the depth in the defense. So, but that front four though, I really would like to have him. But we'll see, Sal. I mean, this is Howie's what Howie does. So.
And this is the first year he came out and he flat out said, he said, don't judge the early part of free agency. He said, the team is not built until the trade deadline. He said, that's it. He said, have patience. We're going to, it's going to be different this year. We're going to do a lot of different things. He said, it's not going to be, so he's got a lot of stuff, I think, going on. He's got a lot of picks. He may end up trading some picks. Who knows? But buckle your seatbelts because I don't think it's done yet.
Yeah, well, he's in a different place, like you said. He you know, last year with the way things happened, the way the season ended, there was definitely a need to bring in, you know, more experienced talent and stuff like that. Where now that you won the Super Bowl, you know, you're in a different mindset, you know. So yeah, I think him saying, look, don't expect a lot in free agency just because it's really you're not. You know, you don't have that need anymore to go into free agency and start grabbing a bunch of people. So yeah, I can see why he would say that.
Yeah, and he's thinking 27, 28 too. Like he's, you know, he wants to draft guys now that can make that impact. He doesn't want to just win one Super Bowl. He's trying to win multiple. Right. So, you know, and right now you're right, Mike. He's in a position, to your point, to do that because of the way things are set up with these 1-year contracts with the guys that he's drafted so far. Like we'll see how he does this year, but he really, you know, he had 2 great picks last year in Cooper DeJean and Keon Mitchell. I mean, those guys were cut. That would be a whole different team if he didn't get those 2 guys.
I agree.
So that was, you know, so we'll see what happens.
It's your boy, Sal. I can't leave speaking positive on it, man.
Sal's starting to believe.
I was going to say, I didn't think.
It's the ring.
You got to give credit where credit's due. Like I said, every dog has his day, and look,
Howie's time to get to this moment, right? It's taking what, 4 years, Dre?
Yeah, Howie has had his moments. Howie has had his moments.
Got 2 rings under Howie, Sal.
Yeah, he's had some clunkers, but he takes risk. He definitely takes risk. I mean, there's no question about it. So, you know, I mean, yeah, you can say Becton, you can say Bond. He's taking risk. I mean, you know, so. We shall see.
Jerry, we got into week 1. After week 1, and it starts off, you know, with a loss or something like that. That's how we back to his old self. See, this is Howie's fault. This is what happened. You know, all these players go. Now the team sucks, so we're gonna be no good this year.
I don't know that I'll go that far. I'm still like, I don't think I'm as hype about Jalen as everybody else did. I mean, people are talking Hall of Fame now. It's like, all right, let's just calm down, okay? Like, you know, Jalen's still got a long way to go. Let's just calm down a minute. He did well, but he's got a ways to go.
They put him in a good position. You know what I mean?
He's nothing without Saquon right now.
Well, right. But what I'm saying is like he was put in the right position to play the way he plays, right? If he can't, he's not a Josh Allen, you know what I mean, where he's just gonna take over, he'll make mistakes.
Right. Or get everybody else, you know, make people better. Well, I don't know, it's hard to say because, you know, Jalen's such a strange character. You don't, you know, sometimes you see it and you're just kind of like, he doesn't do this, doesn't do that, like the commercial says, and then he goes out and does at the right time. So I don't want to say he's nothing without Saquon, but Saquon, you know, sure, definitely, you know, carried that team a lot last year. Oh, yeah. You know, I mean, there was certainly, like you said, he covered up a lot of sins, for sure. But CMC did that for Brock Purdy. I mean, you know, and we've seen the numerous other teams there where, you know, Travis Kelce in a lot of ways covered up a lot of Mahomes sins, you know, because he'd be wide open, catching all kinds of dumb passes that otherwise, you know, Mahomes would probably be taking a sack. So, I mean, yeah, you just got to have that right-hand guy that just saves your butt from time to time, and Jalen lucked out having Saquon.
Yeah. All right, well, good stuff, guys. We will pick this up again. The draft is in another month, pretty much, so a little over a month. I think it's the 24th weekend, the 24th, 25th, something like that. Yeah. So we'll keep everybody posted. Hey, sign up and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you know when we're on next. And also, you know, we're on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it now, of course, Instagram. So make sure you follow us and like our post there as well.
Please leave a like.
Yeah, everything's on the Enough Said Crew, of course. And our email address is always enoughsaidcrew@gmail.com. Thanks as always to all our listeners. Shout out tomorrow night. They are back, the All Dressed Up podcast. So if you have not listened to them, they are back on tomorrow night as well. They got 2 weeks in a row here going. They're back to back. So make sure you check them out Sunday nights at 9:00. Good friends of ours, All Dressed Up podcast. So outside
Right.
of that, guys, it's always a pleasure.
Yep.
And we'll do this again soon, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
looking forward
Good
to the
seeing you guys.
draft.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh, yeah.
guys.
All right.
All right.
Peace.
All
Take it
right.
easy.
Later.
Later.